Hi, I'm Dr. Hans Tokke, and this is another City Insight. Feel free to leave your comment along the way and reflect on what you think about my comments here today. Today's topic, Hike and Hawks, a reflection for an urban nonprofit leader. On a beautiful, sunny, warm, autumn northeast Monday morning, a nonprofit leader took a day off from the drudgery of compassionate work and teaching to hike up Kakiat Mountain, about an hour drive from here, really a hill by new West Coast standards, situated in Rockland County overlooking the northern New York City suburbs. Craning his head back to gaze up from the forest floor, the hiker saw fiery fall colors near a peak, burning in bright contrasting yellow, orange, and vermilion against the azure blue sky background. The craggy but clear trail up the mountain was a mix of sawdust, leaf piles, gravel, and large boulders. He followed two terracotta painted trail markers appearing on trees, branches, and rocks, as it's quite easy to find one's way in a county wilderness park a few hundred yards from the nearby homes. The trail, though moderate, is quite doable for the novice who needs to retreat from the daily grind of office work, administration, and proposal writing, lecturing, community service, and so on. Checking his heart rate every few hundred yards indicates this was a good exercise that burns blood sugar with the accompanying sweat, but more importantly, exerts anxiety and worry from the stressed out leader's spiritual heart and soul. The path is smooth under the autumn canopy until one reaches the bluffs about 2/3 of the way up, where the trail takes a steep rise, squeezing itself between crevices of the boulders and rocks. Fortunately, there's twigs, branches, and outcroppings that could easily grab if the trekking is planned correctly and in a good way. Stopping every so often, it's gratifying to gawk and look down the mountain to see how far one has come and to swerve around to appreciate the destination of the summit clearing just up ahead. A few more gritty and gutsy steps, and the nonprofit leader made it. And then they rested. Snapping some shots of the valley and Instagramming it to friends, family, and board members, the staff members saw the beautiful changing fall colors that were clothing the Rockland County below with a fashionable collage of fall colors. Here was proof in the making that he'd come to the mountaintop. Well, a hill anyways. But it was recorded that they had arrived. It was finished. Lingering for possibly 15 or 20 minutes, admiring the wonder of God's creation, evolution, or however you see it, and the effects of chloroform on nature, the stressed out director caught a breath of fresh air, physically and spiritually, and there enjoying, as Heschel would view it, Sabbath rest. He wrote, "The Sabbath, thus, is more than an armistice, more than an interlude. It's a profound conscious harmony of man and the world, a sympathy for all things and a participation in the spirit that unites what is above and what is below. It's really a space at the top of this mountain to find strength, solace, and renewal." But this was only half the trip. Things began to change. Another 5 minutes went by and a black stark hawk glided overhead in contrast to the increasingly paler blue near noonday sky. Within a few minutes, a squadron of 5 or 6 hawks circled the heavens like a Halloween haunting. The animated and effortlessly floating carved out spirograph-like patterns above as the nonprofit leader arched back their head and neck to see the spectacle lurking overhead. The solitude leader, on a Sabbath, now feeling alone, began to sense uneasiness. The sight of the hawks created a twinge of fear of the unknown. This was uncharted territory to have hawks intrude on the Sabbath. Was the leader retranslating their own fearful feelings of daily life onto the hawk? Maybe. The anxious thinking magnified the presence of the hawks with thoughts of, are they out to get me? In seeing the human flesh on the outcrop down below, was the leader a target for a good hawkish lunch feast? Quickly pacing down the canopy below, hiding from the hawks and feeling more secure under the sweetness of the autumn color, the leader reflected on fear and how quickly peace and well-being shifted to anxiety and fear. This dichotomy of nonprofit leadership is a common characteristic for those dealing with human services and crisis response in our cities. The crucial point of the hike with the hawks is that scenarios change, sometimes very rapidly. What at one point can be a place of wonder and beauty can quickly shift to become a place of threat. And this is what many leaders can encounter in their work with staff members, with board members, or clients they serve. At one moment, the strategic plan can be trekking along, progressing, growing, and with the personal and organizational sweat it takes to get there, result in mountaintop success. Growth and progress itself enforces a result of hard work, positive thinking, mission cause, and so on. You get what I'm saying. This is the core to the idea of American triumphalism. A hard work ethic will result in business success. Classic sociologist Max Weber argued this way, that the American capitalist system is birthed in this Protestant ethic where one's identity becomes vocation. Hard work is worship. Work is progress. And this is alive and well in our urban societies, where the stronger I work, the more hard work I do, and don't take time for Sabbath, the better off I am. Getting up to the mountain is akin to the successful nonprofit organization that worked hard to get there. Impacts and outcomes are positive, fundraising is up, and community accolades and awards abound. But if a nonprofit leader looks and acts like a city CEO that is providing the financial support, so much the better. Major donors want to see this active, hard-working CEO. It is true, as Aristotle once said, people like to be with people like themselves. However, when one's pinnacle of organizational achievement quickly gets antagonists, metaphorical hawks really, seeing the success of their competitor, and they begin to circle around, threatening to attempt to discount the accomplishments and attempt to change the scenario for you, they really start to push their own self-interested agendas. We found this recently with an organization I've been working with, where a magazine journalist didn't look at the facts, but was trying to antagonize deliberately. Be it from unfair criticism, hurtful words, or unethical power tactics, the hawks turn the hike from an exhilarating experience to a fearful flight from one's positive sense of accomplishment. Whether the threat is real or perceived, the destructive forces still can push the leader back down into hills of safety, into the protective canopies below the summit. We stop growing, we stop working. Well, the lesson to be learned from the hike and hawks is that having a strategic plan that gets from A to B is a good thing, the hike, but one simultaneously must prepare to shift based on the change in scenario, the hawks. Nonprofit leadership planning is malleable, changeable, and organic, not a stagnant or static process with no room to shift to cultural, social, and human circumstances that affect the plan. So as good as a 3-month, 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year plan is, at some point you have to learn how to deal with the crisis. The effective NGO leader in a modern global society works between these two poles and thus has strategic scenarios that enable them to deal with the hawks, but also to enjoy the process of change. So scenario planning methods help us here. You can check this out elsewhere because they help you in a crisis or disaster to respond effectively. Another application are various canopies of safety where when we're faced with criticism and fear, we can retreat to. Knowing where there's places of safety is critical to sustaining long-term health and well-being. Sabbath, indeed, must have safe spaces of solace. The balanced leader is not one so stuck in workaholism and the trek uphill that they cannot stop to view the scene. And when the attacks or crises come, nowhere to go for safety. My city is filled with workaholism like this, where the best one can do is a subway Sabbath between home or dozing off between one wireless service when it fades off or in the tunnel. But even now, the MTA is intruding on this idea by putting wireless even in our subway. We can't ever get away. Well, I learned a great thing working at Ground Zero as part of the Red Cross Spiritual Air Incident Response Team, where they asked the caregiver 3 questions after coming off of 9/11. And I ask these for you today. Number 1, how many people did you see today or speak to? Tell me a story about your shift. And what are you going to do for yourself in the next 24 hours? Nonprofit workers, especially those involved in emergencies, must articulate a plan for safe spaces to retreat to when the pains of service circle the psyche. Canopies are critical when there is compassion fatigue. So what are your canopies? Indeed, it might be a morning hike at a local country park to hike with the eagles. So we must learn to ask ourselves, what are we going to do for ourselves in the next 24 hours? I'm Dr. Tokke. Join me next time for a City Insight.